All right, so we're continuing with 3.4. We're going to talk about the Pythagorean Theorem. Now, the Pythagorean Theorem, it's great, but it only applies to right triangles. So if I draw a right triangle, and I label it A, B, C, the three sides of the triangle, then here's the relationship. Oh, first of all, we call those sides that are the shorter sides, A and B, are called legs. They're the legs of the triangle. So C, though, is called the hypotenuse. Hypotenuse. Okay, so you'll know which one C is, and you have to know which one C is because that's how the Pythagorean theorem works. It'll be the longest one, or you can think of it as the one across from the right angle. Okay, so C is the hypotenuse, the longest one. And the relationship then is, if you take A squared plus B squared, it's going to equal C squared. So I used the Pythagorean theorem. I used it last weekend. I was trying to figure out if this dresser would fit in this truck, and I figured if we put it on an angle, we'd have more space. Anyway, it's a very useful formula. It's named after Pythagoras, who was a Greek mathematician a long time ago. All right, so we're going to use it, show you some examples now. Use the Pythagorean theorem to find the length of the hypotenuse in the triangle shown. Well, they didn't give me a triangle shown. They did, but I forgot what it was. Let's see if I can find that. Let's see. Yeah, almost have it. Yeah, okay. We'll use this one. So here's a triangle. Sorry about that. Triangle, a right triangle. And we're going to say that this side or leg is 12. They don't give us any units of measure. It could be feet, could be inches, something like that. Here's the right triangle, or the right angle. And then this one's going to be 5. And the hypotenuse we don't know. But we can use the relationship. So A squared plus B squared equals C squared. Now, on the legs, it doesn't matter which one's A and which one's B. Doesn't matter which leg is which. Now, when you're doing this equation, you're going to have to square those sides first. So 12 squared is 144, and 5 squared is 25. Then you're going to add those two together, so 169 equals C squared. Now, what you're trying to do then is you're trying to figure out what number that if you squared it would equal 169. 169 is a perfect square, so C is going to be 13. I'm going to put that over here. C equals 13. And like I said, we don't know if it's feet or inches or what, some linear measurement. But what we're doing is we're taking the square root of 169 to equal C. So you can put that in a calculator that has a square root button and find the square root of 169, but it's 13. So the hypotenuse is 13 in that case. All right, so now we have another example. Kelvin's building a gazebo, so I'll try to draw a little gazebo over here. Maybe should have made it bigger. Well, that's not very good. Good thing I'm not building it. And he wants to brace each corner. So he's going to put a piece of wood right here, okay, to brace that corner. And that it says to brace each corner by placing a 10-inch piece of wood diagonally. So that's going to be the 10 inches right there. So he's got this 10-inch piece of wood, and he's going to put it in there to brace the corner. All right. Now he's going to fasten the wood so that the ends of the brace are the same distance from the corner. What that means is that this distance here, we don't know it, we'll call it X, but it's going to be the same distance as over there. So those two distances are the same, X for both legs. So there's like a little right triangle in there. Hopefully you can see that. All right. And then it asks us, if he fastens the wood, okay, what is the length of the legs of the right triangle formed? Approximate to the nearest tenth of an inch. So we're going to need a calculator for this, probably, because it says approximate. But first, let's set up the equation. So we're going to take our A squared plus B squared equals C squared. This time we know the long side, the 10, that's the hypotenuse. So it's like, let me draw it a little bit bigger. It's like you have this triangle, here's the 10, Here's the right angle. This is x and this is x. Okay, so those distances are supposed to be the same. I didn't draw it very well, but all right, so we get x squared plus x squared equals 10 squared. X squared plus x squared, that's 2x squared. We can combine those, they're like terms. 10 squared is 100, 10 times 10. All right, now we want to solve this equation. So we're going to divide by 2. And we get x squared equals 50. Scrolling up. All right, so what we want to do is we want to know what's the square root of 50. And I don't know what the square root of 50 is, but my calculator does. So I'm going to say it's approximately equal to, and let's see, they want it to the nearest tenth of an inch. So tenth means 1 decimal place. So I'm pulling out my calculator right now. You can't see me do that, but I'm typing in the square root of 50. So you can do that on your calculator and check and make sure I'm doing it right. And I get something like, this is about 7.07106, and then there's a bunch of numbers. Okay, so that's an irrational number, the square root of 50. And they want us to round this to the nearest tenth, so that's going to be 7.1. You're going to look here and see if it rounds up. Since 7 is more than 5, it's going to round up to 7.1. So, and this was inches, right? So we'll say inches. So now you know where to place the wood. You need about 7.1 inches away from that corner to brace it. All right. So that's the Pythagorean theorem. I think we go to the next page, which is about rectangles. So a rectangle is what's called a quadrilateral, meaning that it has 4 sides. But the 4 sides are special. Each angle here is a right angle. And that you have 2 what we call widths that are the same length, and 2 lengths that are also the same length, and they're parallel. So A is parallel to A and B is parallel to B in my little diagram here. And that's a rectangle. It has to have 4 right angles and parallel sides. Okay, so a little bit more about rectangle. The perimeter of a rectangle, we have a formula. It's twice the width plus twice the length. Now, I wrote it with A's and B's. I probably should have written it with W's, and let's make those W's and L's. That'll be nicer. Let's get rid of those A's and B's. They're good letters, but let's put it in terms of how we usually talk about rectangles. So a width here, and a length here, and a length here. Now remember, perimeter is like you're putting a fence around the rectangle. And so you have to go down this width, then the length, then another width, and then another length. That's why the perimeter is twice the width plus twice the length. The area of a rectangle, that's going to be length times width. So, let's see. Like you want to measure a room, so you're going to cover it with carpet or tile or something. So you have to figure out the area. Now that will be a square measurement. It'll be in like square feet or square inches or something like that. Okay? A perimeter is a linear measurement. All right. So it says in our first problem, the length of a rectangle is 120 yards and the width is 50 yards. What is the perimeter? Now a lot of times when I have these geometry problems, I'll draw a little picture so I can see what's going on. So it's 120 yards for the length and the width is 50 yards. And then I'm going to say I'm trying to find perimeter, so I'll use my perimeter formula. Twice the width plus twice the length. But I know the width. The width is 50. And I know the length. The length is 120. So then I just have to do the math here. So I get 100 plus 240. And the perimeter is going to be 340. Now that's going to be yards, so I'll go over here and write my answer, 340 yards. And so if you were buying fence for that rectangular plot, you'd need 340 yards of fence. Okay, let's go to the next problem. The area of a rectangle is 598 square feet. The length is 23 feet. What is the width? So area of a rectangle is length times width. So they tell us the area, 598 square feet. The length is 23 feet. They don't tell us the width. That's what we're looking for. So we have 598 equals 23W. We can solve that equation. We're just going to divide by 23 on both sides. And I don't know what that is, so I'm just going to divide that on my handy-dandy calculator instead of doing it by hand. Looks like I get 26 then for W. Now, how do I know what the measurement is? We were measuring in feet. So it's going to be a linear measurement, 26 feet. Okay. One more. Oh, no, more than that. All right. So the width of a rectangle is 7 meters less than the length. So here's where it gets a little bit trickier in their information that they're giving you. So I know it's a rectangle. I'm going to draw a rectangle. The width, I'm going to label that W. Well, maybe I don't want to label it W. Okay. I'm changing my mind as I look at how it's written. The width is 7 meters less than the length. So the width, if this is my length, the width is 7 meters less than the length. So I got to take whatever the length is and take off 7 meters, and that'll give me the width. So you could write that separately if you wanted to. You could say, well, the width is, 7 meters less than the length. So remember, you're subtracting the 7. That's the tricky part. Okay, now they tell us the perimeter is 58 meters. And they want us to find the length and the width. We're going to use our perimeter formula. Perimeter formula. Which is going to be twice the width plus twice the length. And so I'm going to have 58 is going to be twice the width, which is L minus 7, plus 2L, twice the length. So 58 equals, I'll have to distribute here, twice the length minus 14, plus twice the length. All right, 58 equals, we're going to combine like terms. That's going to be 4L minus 14. We'll have to add 14 to both sides. And if this is going too fast, remember you can back up the video, slow it down. So what do I get? 72 equals 4L. I'm going to divide by 4. So I'm going to get the length to equal, how many times is 4 going to 72? 18? Okay. I'm pretty sure it's 18. Yep. All right, that's the length then. Now you have to find the width. But the width is 7 less than the length. So 18 minus 7, or the width is 11. So somewhere you're going to write for your answer, the width is 11 meters, and the length is 18 meters. Something like that. Something so I know the width and the length. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully we just have one more problem. My battery's running out. The width of a rectangle is 6 less, so let me draw a rectangle. The width is 6 less than twice the length. So here's my length. The width is 6 less than twice the length. The perimeter is 18. So again, we're going to use our perimeter formula. 18 for the perimeter. Twice the width, which is 2L minus 6. That's 6 less than twice the length. Okay, plus another 2L. And now we're going to distribute, and we'll be off to the races to solve this rectangle. 18 equals 4L minus 12 plus 2L. Sure I did that right. 18 equals 6L minus 12. Go ahead and add 12 to both sides. So you get 30 equals 6L, and divide by 6. 5 equals the length then. Now, it says the width is going to be, the width is twice the length, so 2 times 5 minus 6. So the width is going to be 10 minus 6, or the width is going to be 4. All right. So there you have your answers right there.